very special guest. We're very honored to have here today. Would like to introduce Plymouth County Congressman Bill Keating, who's a great congressman down here, helps the working man, always accessible to people, great friend of the leagues, and many more of us here. Congressman Keating, please. Hey.
I'll try this just to be heard, and I won't be long, so I think we're safer that way. Thank you, George. What a room full of people. What a great day. Where's this? Okay, we'll reposition the mic. Thank you. How's that? Better? All right. It's a pleasure to be here. Pleasure to be among so many active Democrats. I enjoyed my time with Local 4. We had a great conversation. That's the kind of informal conversation that all of us miss, and COVID has had such a great effect on. Just a quick note to my friend, Bob McCarthy, who we all lost just within the last couple of weeks. He was someone in my early years that we worked together. He was the state senator for Foxborough. I was the state representative, and we worked together, and he helped me as a young legislator move forward, be effective in the House, and is a man of integrity. I want you to keep his memory and his wife Roberta, Alan, the rest of the family, his daughter, all in our prayers for that. I could share with you many stories about Bob McCarthy. I'll do one, and I'll do a segue to what I'm going to say. It's a different era, you've got to remember, back then. And we had a Democratic Unity event one evening, much like we're having here for breakfast this morning. So all the regional Democrats got together, and Bob and I were asked to say a few words. And so he gave his speech, I gave mine. You'll be pleased to know they were both short. And we proceeded to sit back for the night at this. It was a bar room is where the meeting was. And as we sat at the end and said, let's just have a beer together and we'll leave, all of a sudden, a beer bottle from across the room, not intentioned at us, I'm sure, flew right between us in the air. We put down our drinks, and Bob said, I think we've had enough unity for the evening. And we left. But he was a man of integrity, and he will be missed. Those of you that knew him or were represented by him were blessed. Unity, Democrats. Messaging, Democrats. We're having a few problems in that regard. Let me tell you, in the House, where there's all kinds of discussion and you read articles, but when you look at what's happening in the House, I remember the words that Speaker Pelosi often uses, that in diversity is our strength, but in unity is our power. And we have to be united as a party, and we're doing that in the House. Despite what you read, we are coming together, and we have done truly historic things. Now, on the messaging thing, very quickly, it's something I want to expand on, but it's something I thought about given this morning's address and who I'm speaking with. We don't do the best job messaging as Democrats, and we have so many things that affect people's lives in such a fundamental way that we have done during particularly these pandemic years that have helped save this country, literally. And we don't get the message out. I talked to one union friend I had in D.C. once, and every time I see him, he reminds me of the conversation I had. We were talking about progressives, and he asked me, what about the progressives? And I said, well, I look at it this way. When you talk about politics, what's the opposite of being progressive? And he said, I don't know. And I said, it's regressive. And that's what the Republicans are doing. You know, during my early years in Congress, up until recently, the Republicans took great pride in doing nothing. They said so. They would say, our job is to come here and do nothing. We don't want things to change. And they actually ran on doing nothing. They became, as we all remember, the party of no. But that's changed in the last few years, and it's changed for the worse. Because if you're talking about medicine, what's rule number one in medicine? Do no harm. They've gone from doing nothing to doing harm, even during these times of national crisis. In fact, it's been downright unpatriotic when there's an insurrection on the Capitol, and you see our democracy being threatened. The transfer of power, which is the fundamental portion of that, that comes from our ability to vote and have free and fair elections. There was a plot to actually stop that from happening. And 137 of my House colleagues, and I think somewhere around 8 or 9 senators, voted not to honor free and fair elections, the foundation of our country. They are doing harm right now, and they continue to do harm right now. It's not only hurt us in this country, it's hurt us domestically. I can tell you from my work, and I'm very involved in what's going on in Ukraine right now. They look at the United States as the beacon of democracy. They don't look at us. They depend on us. And that's being hurt there, and it's being undercut here, and now it's being normalized and institutionalized, where they're actually going around taking officers that conduct oversight over elections, whether it's a local commissioner or secretaries of state. And their litmus test is, you first have to deny the last national election was legitimate. You have to say it's rigged. They're doing harm. So let me just get to the point about our messaging. It's not enough to say Democrats are doing something like the CARES Act, or the CARES Act 2, or the Rescue Bill, or what we passed yesterday, the competition bill, or what we will get part of, I believe, back from the Senate, important historic parts, the Build Back Better bill. And we will get part of that back. If we just did pre-K and child care alone, it would be historic. If we just added on to the green economy and a green infrastructure the way we did in the infrastructure bill, further in the Build Back Better, that would be enough. So we continue to do historic things. And the rescue package that saves so many people, our healthcare system, our nurses, help people stay in their homes, not get evicted, made sure the COVID pandemic was being dealt with, and there was resources to keep us healthy. They voted no, unanimously. They're doing harm. So I just want to tell you, these are not even up-to-date statistics, and I'll close with this because it drives this home, and we can do it together. Now my partner, I don't know if he'll arrive later, but Steve Lynch has been my partner in this region, and he does a terrific job, and he is so instrumental on infrastructure, on the Transportation Committee here. That infrastructure bill, we're seeing the effects of, $1.1 trillion. So when they're talking about fixing bridges, if they're talking about replacing the Cape Cod bridges, if they're talking about making our roads safer, remember this. It's not enough in this election, in this environment, to say, we did that. When you're looking at these individual projects, we have to remember the Republicans were against it.
Yeah.
Not one person, only a handful in the infrastructure bill did it. Most of them aren't running for re-election because they're getting pushed out of their own party for just representing their people. So look at this theme once again. These are older statistics, but just at the recent things we did. And this is only my district, not Representative Lynch's district, not the whole state. $172 million in child tax credit cuts for 72,000 families in my district alone. We were for that. They voted against that, doing that. The help for our restaurants that were savaged with this pandemic. We put $94 million in my district alone. We were for it. They voted against helping restaurants and small businesses. Shuttered businesses, $385 million. We were for. Businesses were on the verge of never coming back. They voted against helping small businesses. K through 12 schools, getting them through the pandemic. $1,830,000,000. They voted against it. Community health centers, $146 million in my district alone for that important nexus to health care. We voted to help them and help people get health care. They voted against it. And back then, 149,000 jobs in my district alone, and that's an outdated figure now. We voted for 149,000 jobs, union jobs, good-paying jobs. They voted against those jobs. In the last year alone, in the Biden administration, 6.6 million new jobs created. That's about the whole population of Massachusetts. Think about that, the entire population, all that new job creation. We voted for things to advance it. They voted against it. So as we see these projects in the infrastructure, as we see small businesses that are pulling their way back, creating new jobs and prospering, it's not enough, I don't think, to bring the point home that we were for those things. We have to remind people they were against it. That's our message. Who's for the people? Who's supporting things to help people in the middle of a crisis? And who turned their back on it? Think about this in messaging. The American Rescue Bill. What's the opposite of rescue? Abandonment, endangerment, imperiling. That's their side, abandoning people, not just being neutral, abandoning them in times of need, and we were to the rescue. What's the opposite of building? I'll leave it at this. Pulling down, disuniting, demolishing. That is their platform. That's why they don't want to have a Republican platform when they have presidential elections, because they can't run on it. So listen to this. As we go forward during these times, we should take pride in our party, take pride in what's going on at the federal level, at the state level, at the county level, and remind people who stood with the people and will continue standing with the people to get things done to advance our economy, keep us safe, keep us secure, and who voted against it. Thank you so much for being part of this.